against the wall. But you are a strong person, so baby keep moving on. Don't let nobody stop you, honey. So look up your pants and just stand tall. You will stay.
Welcome everybody to our next video here at LAVI Program LLC. I'm your girl Lavender, your virtual life coach, and today is April 10th, Saturday, Self-Reflection Saturday. I do apologize about last weekend, y'all. I did not put out a self-reflection video for Saturday. However, I did put out a slide presentation for you all just to kind of give you a little bit more information about why life coach services are something that could be beneficial and how it can compare to things like clinical services like therapy or some other type of behavioral health or mental health service. So check that out if you haven't already. All right, let's dive into today's video. So today we're going to be talking about patterns. And the reason I wanted to talk about patterns is because we're almost halfway through the 2025 year. And I think that it's important that we stop and reflect so that we're not doing the exact same thing for the remainder of the year. That way we can then give ourselves the opportunity to change the things we don't like, or to increase or improve the things that we do prefer and do like that we've acquired along the way. All right, y'all, so here we go. So the first thing to ask yourself when we're focusing on patterns is, what do you struggle with most in your life? Now, these can be things like weight loss, addictions or vices, unhealthy connections, perhaps job hopping, not being able to really stay stable in one spot for too long. Whatever that struggle could be, it's good to ask ourselves, well, what is it that we're struggling with? And then once you are able to answer that question, the next question would be, what patterns do you see repeating themselves in your life? So by really looking at what ingredients you are putting into your recipe of individual self, well, then we can kind of determine what the outcome is going to be, what cooks up from that. And if we don't like different ingredients that are coming within that recipe, you can change them. You have the ability to change them. Because if you don't want the same outcome, you have to change the ingredients. If you continue to use the same ingredients, then what happens? The same outcome. So in response to patterns, well, if there are negative patterns that you may be doing, they may have negative outcomes. And so it's great to just take a moment and reflect. What am I struggling with? And then what role do I play in that? What am I doing or not doing that contributes to this outcome, that contributes to this final product? All right, so the next question would be, how does it make you feel when a pattern shows up in your life that is unhealthy? So, when we stop and reflect on these patterns about ourselves, well, what is it about these patterns that, might be seen as unhealthy in our life? How does that make us feel? So again, when we talk about things like weight loss, well, if we know that we're maybe eating too much or eating the wrong things, excuse me, y'all, or perhaps, and no, I'm not taking that out because I'm not editing a burp. It is natural. It is human. When we are stopping to think about how we feel with these patterns, we really need to kind of, figure out, well, is this pattern unhealthy? And if it is unhealthy, how does it impact my growth? How does it stop me from either accomplishing things that I say that I want to accomplish, or how does it deter me from off of that path of the things that I want to accomplish? And by doing this, you then begin to see, okay, well, this is the ingredient that is no longer serving me. It's not in alignment to the things that I want or to the things that I'm trying to manifest in my life. well, then you need to change that pattern. Because again, the only person that can do that is you. I always say this, no one is coming to save you. If you don't like it, change it. If you don't, it will remain consistent. All right. Next question to ask yourself is, what patterns are you mimicking from your parents? Now, sometimes we might not even, really even consider the fact that, well, what is it that we didn't really get on our own? We were more so shown or told how to do this from our parents. And some of those patterns can be great things. Some of those patterns can become talents even. Things that can really get us through hard, rough times, But at the same time, by acknowledging what patterns are your own and what patterns you really have just adopted from others, that you've kind of made your own or part of your own individual blueprint, again, if you realize those patterns you don't like or that's not really who you are, then it's time to sit down, do some self-discovery, and ask yourself these questions. How am I struggling? What patterns are contributing to that? How does that make me feel when these patterns, create unhealthy outcomes for myself? And then, did I learn this from my parent? Or is this really something that is me? And if so, what's the origin of this pattern? Like, how did this even come about? Asking those simple questions. And let me take it back. It might not be simple, because some of those things might be emotionally sensitive, or they might bring up triggering responses for people. So be brave, be courageous, and ask yourself these tough questions, because then you get to a point where you're able to identify and separate the difference from what is actually you and what are just things that kind of tainted onto you, stuff that you've adopted from others. And sometimes we adopt good things from other people as well as bad things. Is this something that we have acquired on our own, or is this more of a product of our environment? And do we like this? If we don't, change it. Last question. What can you change or do differently to break those patterns? Sometimes that might entail us, maybe asking friends or people that we trust or that we feel are going to, keep it real with us and just tell us what it is. Perhaps you might need someone like a life coach or a therapist that you can sit down to and help you to unravel whatever it is that may be inside so that you can see the clearer picture. And that way you can then, decipher and remove what needs to be removed and then replace it with more positive things. Because sometimes when you're used to doing a pattern, it just becomes a norm. You might not even think about the fact of how is this impacting me. But this is why I think it's important that we take the time to really look at our patterns and how they came about. And, what can we do to change these patterns? And if you don't know, then we can educate ourselves. We can ask other people. We can look up research, do different things that give us some type of other avenue of how to go about something. And seeing if that works for us, because even then with that information, it might not fit you, Life isn't a one-size-fit-all thing, but we still have to do it. So with that in mind, take some time, ask yourself these questions. Use it as a creative writing exercise for yourself. Ask yourself these questions and write down the answers. And then decipher what it is from these answers that you've written down. What is it that's you? What is it that might be your parents or some other external person that was around you, either in your micro or your macro systems? Basically your immediate family or immediate connections versus your exterior connections, like, teachers, friends, coworkers. And then, decipher what it is that you need to do moving forward to separate yourself from the things that you don't feel are you or are not in alignment with what it is that you're trying to do or where you're trying to go. Because in order to really grasp and obtain the life that you want for yourself moving forward, you got to be willing to sacrifice the old life, because you can't take both with you. it's not going to work. It's going to be a power struggle. And the person that's going to be stuck in limbo with it is you. So let's take some time, reflect on our patterns, y'all, and let's get it together. Because again, no one is coming to save us. It is our responsibility to save ourselves. You are the master of your own fate. Let's get to work. All right, y'all. Have a good self-reflective Saturday. Bye, y'all.